If you could redesign the human body, what changes would you make? Story 1. The ability to run basically a self-diagnostic, including of the brain, and more effective warnings if something goes wrong. Control over more of the body and brain from, I'm going to sleep right now, to toggling reproductive functions, to triggering the growth of new teeth, and so on. And if we're really pushing it, consciously deciding how our bodies and appearance develop. Better joints and spines somehow. I'm not an expert. Seeing in ultraviolet would also be pretty cool. Story 2. A new set of teeth that grow when you're 30, a spare of each major organ that remains dormant unless the primary is damaged. I'm with you on the teeth, and we should get a new set every 20 years or so. A spare set of major organs would really alter the way our bodies look, though. We don't have room for that stuff. I'm thinking more like we can just regrow them, like when a lizard loses its tail. It's not a perfect system, but all our organs would be like our liver, where you only need a tiny little portion of it for it to completely regenerate. Story 3. I would adjust something in the brain so that we had more control over falling asleep or staying awake. We would still feel tiredness as an urge, but kind of like the urge to go to the bathroom, for example. We've had more brain control over when and where we'd give into it and start dozing off. On the inverse, we'd also be able to induce an almost immediate state of sleep at will, almost like a muscle function. So if you really did want to take a nap that was exactly 20 minutes, you could set your alarm and really do it. Story 4. Making a system that repairs telomeres within brain cells rapidly, while also constantly requiring development of new synapses and pathways. Making drive a secondary priority to romance, six-finger hands with two thumbs. Atrophy occurs during times of starvation. Increased brain density, as in crows, with ability to grow in density and complexity, has to enable point 1. Increasing lifespan, similarly through telomerase, as drive will result in child production power per human per time going down. Redesign of tendons and ligaments, as to have a multi-fiber system with its own capillary extension at each point, as to enable regeneration. Natural stem cell reserves that act like the immune system and wait to be triggered until damage occurs multiple coronary arteries, multiple frontal cortices and hippocampi, with a central identity center to ensure continuous development of the extrapolated system. This means all thoughts will be like you in each instance where thinking is multiple behind, but both brains are thinking as if they were one brain which developed from both sets of information prior to that instant. Story 5. Just a student, not a scientist, so I don't know too much about it. I would change nerve damage, like the normal human body. When something is damaged, the body tries to repair itself by clotting the blood or like a scab. But if your nerves get damaged, there's this thing in your body, can't really remember now, that makes that section of your nerve kind of go to sleep. That is why if you have nerve damage, it kind of feels like pins and needles or a shooting pain. Story 6. For neurons to regenerate on their own too, psi.bad neurons equal sign all these neurological issues we see in older folks. Dementia, poor nerve to muscle issues, people can't move their arms, people getting paralyzed from poor nerve impulses, or dying neurons that no longer transmit impulses to said muscles. Once those nerve impulses are gone, they're gone. That's why we see things like ALS, dementia, muscle weakness, muscle loss, paralyzation, trouble breathing, trouble swallowing, trouble talking, trouble walking, and cognitive issues. Neurons are a beautiful yet scary thing and can totally wipe out your ability to be independent over time. Guillain-Barré, ALS, myasthenia gravis, diabetic neuropathy, which damages nerves, etc. It's also scary. Watching a loved one right now go through weird neuromuscular issues right now. They have no clue what's going on with him, been to 3 specialists. It will likely get worse with time, unfortunately. Story 7. There's a species of jellyfish that can reverse its aging, making it functionally immortal. I feel like humans should be able to do something like this. For population control after 50 years, humans become infertile as their body first starts regressing in age. In the modern day, you'd need an ID to prove this ain't your first time being 18. The ability to regrow organs would be great too. When one becomes too diseased to function, the body absorbs it and a new one is regrown. I would also make our brains immune to dementia and Alzheimer's. And lastly, effet, prehensile tail, we can use to grab or even hold on to things. If damaged or we feel threatened, we can drop our tail and regrow it like a lizard. Oh, and eyes that can see the full spectrum of light. Story 8. Precognition, where the brain temporarily goes faster to slow time. Also, when a muscle upgrades itself from exercise, all other muscles use the better template. An extension of your nervous system, like a nanofog, gives you telekinesis, mind control, and other psychic abilities. Also, you have 52 quadrillion calculations per second of brain power. Why not collapse for a second and then know all the answers to the next year's homework? Control what happens to waste, too. Why not burn the crap while it is in your system and live in the heat? Your subconscious always knows the time and is just too much of a jerk to tell you. End rant for later discussion. Story 9. I'd give humans fine control over their digestive systems. I find only having limited control over when I crap really inconvenient. You can be damn certain that you won't need to go before you leave, but 45 minutes into that 4-hour journey, you'll get the digestive activity feeling, and your body will decide it's time to take a dump. Sure, you can hold that dump in for the next 3 hours and 15 minutes, but it's just so inconvenient. I suppose we should be grateful we're not like cows, where it just kind of falls out of its own accord, but the whole system could do with some optimization. Story 10. I would give us a higher tolerance to every drug imaginable to reduce the risk of overdosing. I would make the immune system better on many levels, including being able to treat diseases such as prions, cancer, and Lou Gehrig's disease. I would eliminate allergies entirely. I would give us the ability to regenerate body parts over time. I would let us have tails because why not? Only make us actually need 6 hours of sleep. Make it so that people cannot go below the slightly underweight or slightly overweight mark. Make everybody naturally have a very hot body. Make it so that every woman has the body measurements 38 to 23 to 40. And make it so people can go a week without water and at least 1.2 months without food. If the zombie apocalypse hits, it'd be useful. Also, I forgot about this. Make it so that people can never have an IQ below 130. Story 11. Teeth that regenerate? Maybe like a beaver's teeth. This whole thing where you only get one set as an adult is whack. To add to this, eliminate the nerves inside the teeth. If your choices are use a rock to knock your own tooth out because it's infected and the pain is incredible, or die of a tooth infection, the people who fall into the first group, sensitive teeth that drive them to drastic solutions, are more likely to survive than those who had traits leading to a reaction like, meh, it doesn't hurt that bad. I can probably tough this out. It's purely chance, of course, that humans happen to be able to develop technology allowing them to perform dentistry, which can reasonably be argued to have been invented before the wheel. And this opened up a new avenue for traits that make you more likely to seek medical treatment as an evolutionary advantage. Story 12. The ability to regrow limbs, like lizards, swap gender, like certain frogs and fish. So, gender dysphoria isn't so bad for trans people. Lay eggs so birth isn't painful for women. The ability to manipulate brain chemicals so anxiety and depression can be cured. The body would be equipped to completely eliminate cancer. Ability to go longer without food and water. So, people in areas with drought and little food would have a better chance, and maybe gecko footpads. Because who doesn't want to walk on walls? Story 13. A manual override for sensation of pain, for surgeries and emergencies, because anesthesia is dangerous, but its effects are incredibly useful. A manual override for anything the immune system is reacting to, because we simply shouldn't be fighting our own bodies when it comes to harmless allergens or autoimmune diseases. Sleep is no longer necessary. To revitalize the body, humans now only need to spend some time doing light activity. Sleep is still possible when desired. The inguinal canal is now doubly reinforced after puberty to prevent hernias in men. The femoral canal is now doubly reinforced after puberty to prevent hernias in women. The body can now regenerate nerves at will. Unwanted memories are immediately discarded. Wanted memories are perfectly stored. Story 14. Someone with a medical background helped me out. Would it be stupid to have a solid rib cage instead of individual ribs? I assume it would armor the body more. But would it negatively impact the body as well? The short answer is yes, it would be stupid without very careful design. The rib cage being a cage is cheaper and lighter than a full enclosure and allows some flexibility in the upper spine. Also, muscles between the ribs can pull them upwards and outwards, assisting breathing. A solid rib cage would be immobile, forcing the diaphragm to do most or all of the work and take up more space. potentially impacting the stomach and other organs at the bottom of the rib cage. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor or at all qualified to be a source of information. I just like Wikipedia a lot. Story 15. Everyone would always be in perfect health. Our digestive and reproductive systems would be less nasty and more convenient for us, able to turn anything we want on or off as we please. Immortal, then dying at 100 years old, can still be injured but will fully heal. No more physical or mental illnesses or other negative conditions. Screw that. Now that's taken care of the important stuff. Now, for fun stuff. Our bodies would be completely customizable. If you decide you don't like how something looks and or works, you can tell your body to change it and wake up the next morning with that change applied. There would be limits, but for the most part, you could look however you want and make it so your body can do certain things like swimming better, night vision, built-in screwdriver, extra arms, and so on. Each person having a unique symbol that can't be removed, changed, or otherwise obscured would prevent abuse at most levels. Story 16. The biggest health factor we've got as humans is staying in decent shape and eating healthy. So what I'd change is how our brains handle food. Our brains would better regulate desire and stop us from eating more than is good for us. And healthier food, like vegetables and fish and lean meat, would taste better than, say, bacon and pizza. Our instincts evolved for a world with limited resources. Food tastes good to keep us eating when it's around, because you never knew when your next meal would be. Fatty meat tastes particularly great, because fat is energy dense and can last us longer. All these things that are useful for driving us in a survival situation are detrimental to our health in an environment where we can eat ourselves to death. We change the world far faster than our bodies have physically evolved to match those changes in so many ways. Story 17. As a doctor, I suggest the following changes. All cells express telomerase. Aging is suddenly markedly decreased. The three coronary arteries now anastomose together at the apex of the heart. No more heart attacks. All humans get a dozen or so copies of each tumor suppressor gene, RB, P53, etc., so that you don't develop cancer if your precious 2 copies get inactivated by mutations. Fatty and sweet foods should no longer taste good. This is an adaptation that is no longer relevant in a society where scarcity of calories is uncommon, but obesity has become endemic. Baroreceptors in the aortic arch and carotid bodies now automatically trigger a potent inhibition of the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system when blood pressure exceeds 140/90, much less hypertension. The LDL receptor has twice the affinity it currently does, thus mopping up LDL cholesterol more aggressively into the liver. The inhibitory effect of this endocytosed cholesterol on transcription of the gene for HMG reductase is 10 times stronger. No more high cholesterol. Story 18. I mean, if I could redesign it from the ground up, I'd probably make us tigers with wings, because tigers are cool. And tigers with wings are cooler than tigers without wings. Also, we could shoot lasers from our eyes. But I assume you want to know what we'd change starting from a base human. So here's some of the changes I'd like to see. Human 1.1's change log. Human controllable calorie allocation added. Humans can now choose whether to discard non-essential calories or use them to construct fat or muscle tissue. Fixed hair generation bug. Some humans suffered from a bug where their hair would stop growing in certain areas after a period of time. This has been fixed. Additionally, we've made hair generation more robust. Now humans can control where their hair does and does not grow. Cancer bug patched. Fixed a bug that caused unchecked cell replication in many humans. Healing capacity increased. Added a more robust immune system, as well as the ability to regenerate lost limbs. Health restoration rate increased dramatically. Clear auxiliary eyelids added. Added a second set of clear eyelids to help protect the eyes, as well as to restore proper underwater vision. Dark vision added. Dramatically increased human vision in dark environments. Increased lung capacity. Humans can now hold their breath up to 10 times longer. Story 19. Remove illness. It serves no real purpose. Make all injuries heal within 24 hours. Make it impossible to have children above a certain population limit per planet colonized. Ensure that any action showing cruelty to those less fortunate than the person performing said action results in immediate death. Ensure that any violent action also happens to the person performing the action. Severely nerf the mechanism for weight gain. Allow the ability to discard excess caloric intake. Create a natural physical defense for reproductive organs. Story 20. Give humans the ability to change reproductive organs on command, like clownfish can, for example. Or give them both sets, so we could choose to give or take in reproduction. Also, a better self-regeneration process to be able to regrow entire limbs like axolotl and a few other animals can. And structurally, I'd separate the entrance to the gullet from the entrance of the windpipe so people can't accidentally get food or water in the wrong hole and choke to death. Story 21. Cephalopod-style rear eye anatomy, with nerves and blood vessels that branch out behind the eye and poke through to connect with the retina. This eliminates a lacuna, which you don't notice naturally, but which is a flaw in your vision. But more importantly, almost completely prevents detached retina from occurring. Vertebrate eyes do it the knucklehead way. Everything pokes through the retina in one place. I mean, I love my eyes. They were a gift from my mother, and I'm quite attached to them. And honestly, it would be very difficult to live without them. But they're kind of built wrong. Story 22. I would make it so that if you stood in a certain pose, you couldn't lie or manipulate the truth to your advantage. You'd have to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Any relevant knowledge or memories would spring to the forefront. You'd be able to converse about things long forgotten, or even from times when you were too young to remember. It could overhaul justice, laws, jobs, history, the entire world as we know it. Lawyers would go extinct. The second pick is overriding pain. I hate the fact that while running from a dog or wolf or bear and you injure yourself, your body is so fixated on making you feel pain to stop you from putting weight on your leg, pumping your arms, closing your eyes, or otherwise impairing your escape. Death greater than limbs. Get your priorities straight. Story 23. Fetuses would have much stricter protocols on what qualifies for viability early on. In other words, if a baby didn't meet high standards of functionality, it wouldn't make it past the first trimester. Having a low-functioning and non-functioning kid is one of the worst things that could ever happen to you. It dominates your life with stress, medical bills, sickness, grief, and guilt. Not to mention that if all the money spent keeping non-functioning kids alive were put together over a year, we could probably solve world hunger, cure AIDS and MS, advance cancer research by 50 years, and have money left over for a party afterwards. These innocent kids live short, meaningless, often miserable lives and lack the capacity to contribute anything to society. It's a tragedy for everyone involved. Story 24. Have an autoimmune response to scar tissue. You also get a new type of specific immune cell that has the sole purpose of attacking your body's own cells. So when you get a cut, your body dumps a new type of hormone into your blood that blocks your new self-attacking immune cells. Then, your normal systems build scar tissue to heal cuts and whatnot. Then, a few days later, the levels of the new hormone drops off and the new immune cells get to work. They attack the scar tissue very slowly and give opportunity for your skin cells to grow back properly. Another use of the new immune cells is to attack cancers and virions that have snuck into your DNA. So stuff like HIV and herpes can be fought off slowly as the new cells check and kill virus-infected cells. Story 25. Remove the appendix and wisdom teeth. Add another set of teeth. Pain receptors that can be consciously turned off. Much longer telomeres. Bigger, stronger hearts. Less cholesterol production. More latitude for the conscious mind to resist built-in imperatives like the drive. I'll make that mutation you see in 1% of Europeans that confers immunity to HIV standard issue, and throw in that one that gives you immunity to malaria at the cost of minor anemia. Update the food identification instructions to get the picture that sugars aren't as helpful as they used to be. Put some hard limits on how much energy you can store. Denser, stronger bones. Story 26. Should I post my many paragraph thing I already have for this? I'm going to post it anyway. Okay, let's see. The whole thing with breathing and eating tubes being the same? Nah, that's gotta go. How about instead of that, we have a valve that will only allow food and drink through, but not air? That way, choking will be nearly eliminated, and as a plus, we can add some gills and oxygen separating organs to the sides of the neck, connecting directly to the breathing tube. Maybe the gills can be slightly erogenous as well. It only makes sense for them to be as sensitive as the lips after all. It would also be nice if the spine, instead of being discs, was a flexible tube of cartilage, reinforced with bone. Moving down to the shoulders and arms, how about we make it much more difficult to dislocate your shoulders, or all joints really, and give the funny bone nerve a pad of some sort to protect your arm from going dead whenever your elbow hits something. As for the forearms and hands, longer and more flexible fingers would be nice, as well as retractable claws. Nothing much, just enough to give some extra grip while climbing or holding stuff, and make the palms not sweat, and have the hand not be completely unusable after hitting a hard object. Sheesh, we have a lot of hand problems, don't we? Story 27. Probably gill-like filters in our skin. So then drowning is no more. Imagine the underwater worlds we could explore for as long as we wanted without having to go up for air, or clunky tanks that'd need refilling, or any sort of appropriate attire for the occasion. Just strip down and splash. Hell, if humans had that, we probably would actually have facilities down there for research and exploration purposes, without the need for oxygen or vacuums. If we go farther back in time, humans likely would have built below the waters, hunting fish in the sea, as we hunt deer on the land.